To introduce the Shield Maidens of Missouri and start with Stacy Shore. She has been engaged in grassroots activism in her local community at Lake of the Ozark for over 15 years. A real estate agent for 29 years, property rights are her foremost priority. Stacy fought FERC in her community when that federal agency came in with an order to remove over 1,500 homes from the shoreline of the lake. Educating her community and engaging senators at the federal level, Shore led the charge in fighting the federal government to remove homes from the shores of Lake of the Ozarks and redact their order. In 2012, Shore traveled as a grassroots activist to over 150 Missouri towns to educate people on what was going on in our schools with the Common Core State Standards Initiative, dumbing down our children and bowing to the federal government. As a result, Shore and many moms across Missouri helped lead passage of one of the only Common Core bills to pass in the country. There's a lot of stuff to read there, so being part of one of very few communities during COVID that was fully open during the pandemic, with the attention brought to her community for being a leader among Americans, is something she will never forget. She is proud to be a part of a community that thrived during those months and put her community on the map nationally for the rejection of the heavy boot of the government on the neck of private individuals. She's been married to Jeff for over 30 years, and being the mom to Sophia, Bo, and Bear are her most proud accomplishments. Her faith and family fuel her desire to pursue freedom and fight for what it means to be a Missourian and an American. There we go. And Lisa Pannett is a Missouri Christian activist of the people, by the people, and most importantly, for the people. As a mother of 3 beautiful girls and wife of a proud alpha man, she dedicates her time to legislation to keep our republic. Under the banner of Armor Vine, as a lobbyist, she works for those that want to achieve that goal. She believes that by fighting to keep the republic, we are also fighting for the kingdom of God. She has a number of successes at the state level with both religious liberty and freedom legislation, including the Missouri Heartbeat Bill that prohibits abortion once a heartbeat is detected. Training up the children has always been her heart's desire, and why she started Phyllis Schlafly's Next Generation Teen Eagles, to equip those coming up to carry the torch behind us. In her words, both kids and adults have God-given talents to apply in meaningful ways to keep the principles of freedom enshrined by our constitutions. Sometimes we just need a little wind from other directions, from others, to direct our sails, set our ships asail. I say that very good. Anyway, welcome. Glad you're all here.
Testing. Yeah, okay. I'm Stacy Shore. That's Lisa Pannett. And thank you guys so much for coming tonight. We've been in activism for, as you heard, for about a dozen years or more. But about a little over a year ago, we really felt like God was calling us. We traveled and spoke, and this is fun for us to get to do this. But we felt like we were called to do something called Shield Maidens of Missouri. And that has been a blessing because, well, we're technologically challenged. So every single time we can output a podcast or do something with technology, we know that God's hand has moved, because Like our kids are horrified at our lack of technology, or they'll listen to the podcast like, oh, that sounds terrible. That sound, Mom, the sound. It's like, we're just so lucky to have it. Like, we can get it up there so people can listen. Lisa's in the Capitol during session every single day that it is in session. She is physically in the Capitol watching the hearings. She is on the floor when the Senate's in session. If they're in session until 2 a.m. filibustering, she's the only person in the gallery sitting there and watching, because you would be surprised how much stuff goes down that we never know about if no one's there. So she actually is a part of something called Armorvine, and they have no paid clients. They are there for you. I say I watch the hearings because you can watch them on video. And so a lot of times I'll watch the hearings, and so the senators and state reps will say, now, who are you with? And she'll say, I'm with Armorvine. And like, what do you lobby for? And she'll sit there looking all sweet, and she'll go, freedom and liberty. And I always say it's interesting because they look at her like she has 3 eyes. Like, what's that? Because everyone has a motive. But I'm speaking for her when I say God's called her to that. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go over some of the most important issues that are facing our state right now. If you have questions, we want this to be sort of like a round table. Please ask us questions. But all of the information that you'll see tonight, you can find on Shield Maidens of Missouri. It's Substack, which is a website, and they're all live links. So it takes you to the resources where you can do your own research. So with that being said, do you want to add anything in the beginning?
No, just when we wrap this up in the end, I want to be sure to tell you about the bill that Barry Hovis, your representative, that he actually passed that had ESG in it.
Environmental Social Governance is ESG. So this is something that, this is a quote that I've always loved. The truth is like a lion, because sometimes the truth is really hard to get. You get told a lot of different versions of the truth, right? Our mission and motto is the truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Just set it free and it will defend itself. Our goal is not to convince you to believe us and only us. It's to give you a jumping off point to do your own research and then make your own decisions and be able to speak articulately and intelligently about the things that are impacting you and your families. So with that, this is a 2025 legislative review. We won't go in too far to this, but the Shield, we just feel like when God called us to it and gave us the name, that's a whole story, and I won't go into it because we have a lot to cover. But we really feel like God's called us to this. The real estate tax issue of 2025. Anybody got your real estate taxes, your bill yet? So here's the deal. You're going to hear me talk about property taxes and real estate taxes tonight. Everyone wants to call property taxes, they want to put it under one big umbrella. What's about to happen in the legislature in 2026, you're going to hear a lot about property taxes. They're trying to blur the line for you, okay? Property taxes are one thing, and they've already, at least I want her to address this because she was there paying attention during the special session. They've already sponsored, is it 5 or 4?
They had five representatives that sponsored what they call model legislation. That's when it's all the same and they carry it across the country. So 5 representatives during the special session had the same language.
And what they're going to tell you is they're going to get rid of property taxes. Well, what you want to hear is they're going to get rid of real estate taxes, because we're about to see the largest tax increase when it comes to real estate that we've ever seen in Missouri. It's coming. It's coming everywhere. We're going to explain why. But they're going to talk about getting rid of property taxes. Property taxes are not the same as real estate taxes when they talk about it. Know the difference. Because you're going to get on that bandwagon and you're going to say, awesome, yes, get rid of property taxes. That's the top part of the bill. That's the flashbang is what I call it. And everybody's super excited and everybody's on the same train. But then in the bottom part of the bill, they're giving the Missouri State Tax Commission authority that they do not have right now. They're about to gut you in the second half of the bill. So just know, when you get excited about it, there's 2 different kinds of property taxes. There's personal property, your cars, your trailers, your boats, those kind of things. And then there's property taxes as in real estate. What they're doing with taxes right now can cause the loss of your homes, your farms, everything you worked for is in jeopardy right now with how the state tax commission is trying to handle real estate taxes, and we're going to get into that. What will we be covering tonight? The real estate tax increase statewide, how data centers threaten our way of life, and the omnibus utility bill. And then, hang on. Oh, I have Rusty Black stuff in there, but we'll scoot past that. Have you guys heard if you want to say something, Lisa, but you'll own nothing and be happy. We're breaking down the Great Reset. This is a super important part. I'm going to stand up. When you notice here, this was from the Daily Journal dated April 2nd of 2025. And you'll notice Dan Hutton, who's the legislative liaison for the State Tax Commission, wrote this. What is a legislative liaison? Does anybody know what that's another term for? That's a term for lobbyist. So what you don't realize is your tax dollars are paying for lobbyists from the State Tax Commission, the Department of Education in Missouri, MoDOT. They all have lobbyists, okay? The lobbyist for the State Tax Commission, his name is Dan Hutton. And this is super important to understand what's happening in your assessor's offices right now. In the past few months, many counties have received memorandums of understandings, MOUs. Those are contracts, okay? He says from the State Tax Commission, we'll refer to that as the STC, requiring, that's a key word, the county assessor to raise the assessed values on property to come into compliance with Missouri law. And this is a big deal, with the International Association of Assessing Officers, the IAAO, standards adopted by the State Tax Commission. Okay, so breaking down what I've just said. So your local elected assessor was forced to sign a contract that obligates them to an international set of standards based on the way your assessor is supposed to assess your property values. It's never been done before. So when you're seeing tax bills, and I don't know, did you get yours yet in this county? Have you seen your tax bills, your real estate taxes go up?
They did.
They did,
Yeah.
okay. The State Tax Commission is a 3-member board. They serve at the pleasure of the governor, and they're appointed. This is not an elected body. They're supposed to be in an advisory capacity only.
Stacy, tell what happened in Greene County with your sister's taxes.
Oh yeah, so
just kind of a preview of
right, a precursor. So I have a sister who lives in Greene County, and she has a house that's 3 years old. And it's not a mansion by any stretch, it's nice, but I kept telling her this summer, Greene County, you're in trouble. You're gonna see a significant increase. Well, she's not like, I'm her sister, but she's not terribly political. And so about 2 weeks ago, she called me and she said, we got our tax bill. I said, what did it look like? She goes, our taxes are, and she's got 2 young kids in the home. And she said, my tax bill just went up $500 a month, $6,000 a year.
in addition to what you're
In addition to what she was already paying.
Oh my goodness. Oh no.
It's happening all across the state. If you pay attention what's going on in commercial properties, some of those taxes, I mean, you've seen some of the.
Yeah, so I'll just interject here for a second, and that is really what's taking place. The Cliff Notes version is that the governor, who's over the state tax commission, is using his body, the state tax commission, to do his dirty work, so his hands are off of it. He needs the increase in taxes, hence the increase in assessments. And that's why he's now playing the heavy with the state tax commission, and they're playing the heavy with the cards that they have to say, if you don't bring your assessments up because they're not high enough, okay? So take that in, your assessors are not raking you over the coals. And so because they're not, they're saying, if you do not sign these contracts, then we won't give your tax money, your sales tax money back to you. And so that's really, I wanted to say that, like, breaking it down, that's really what's taking place here, is that the state tax commission, appointed by the governor, is doing the governor's bidding without his hands on it. He can say, I'm getting rid of personal property tax, right?
Yeah.
I'm good, I'm great, don't look at what's going on over here. And that's that big bad body over there that he acts like he doesn't have any control on, and he's actually the one dictating to them, hey, this is what I want you to do.
So it's a 3-member board appointed by the governor, serving at the pleasure of the governor, okay? But this guy was appointed during the Mike Parson administration. So Mike Parson, when governor, appointed this guy. His name was Senator Greg Razor. The most radical leftist liberal senator, in my opinion, because I watched a ton of hearings. Everything that you stand for, he's against. There are a lot of decent Democrats, for sure, that could have been appointed. Why they appointed him? Do you have any opinions on that?
No, I just think that they become, you guys know this, they're the uniparty. And so really what happens is they try to distance themselves during an election year, Republicans do, about some of these big social issues, but the reality is they're right in there with them. And so they have no problem with somebody who, this is his main agenda. The LGBTQ, promoting all of that is his main agenda. And they had no problem putting him on the commission. And why that is important, because as Stacy's mentioned, we're doing international standards. When you talk about international standards and their definitions of equality, you start to see how he's going to play a part in that equality measure.
Okay, so that's Greg Razor. Next. So this is from July of 2025. This year, Davison Blip Coffee Roasters is in Jackson County, received a 626% increase in their tax assessment from 2023, leaving the business with a $20,000 tax bill to pay by December 31st. This is happening all over Missouri. So the issue is you can only be assessed every 2 years. On their assessment, it's leaving businesses reeling. If we're able to stay in business, we will have to increase prices, he said. This also is the case for Bella Majana, as he owns and operates 2 businesses within the historic Northeast. While Bella Majana does not own either of his buildings, he shared that property taxes have increased, which in turn will increase for the rent on both of his spaces. We will try to keep costs down for customers, but unfortunately that's what's going to happen, he said, in reference to increasing prices. So there's a lot that's about to happen because of the increase in taxes. Keep this in mind, that Missouri over a 5-year period went from a $27 billion a year budget to $55 billion last year in about 5 years. They're going to have to get their pound of flesh somewhere. They're coming for your real estate taxes. Next.
Hey, Stace, relate that to Illinois' taxes, which is.
Oh yeah, Jeff loves this statistic, but the state of Illinois, super liberal, very radical. So what's interesting is last year, when doing the research, they have almost 13 million citizens or taxpayers in the state of Illinois. Their state budget was $54 billion. Missouri has 6 million people, and ours matches. So when you start to understand what our super red Republican state is doing to you, it's not as bad as what the dark blue Democrat state of Illinois is doing to them, okay? Ombudsman, I'm gonna go through this. We're gonna go back, babe, that's okay. In the state of Missouri, when did that pass? Have you seen that? 2008. There was a law that made a requirement that there had to be an ombudsman at the state tax commission. What that means is that an ombudsman is the advocate for the people. So if you went and you had an issue with your tax receipt or the Board of Equalization or what's happening all over Missouri right now, you have these massive developers coming in and putting these massive apartment complexes. Have you seen them? We live at Lake of the Ozarks. They're all over they're everywhere. They come in and I've sold real estate for 30 years. So a lot of times when you work with a developer, they build 2 buildings, they fill them, they get their leases all done, they go back to the bank, they build 2 more, and so on until they max out. But they have leases to show for it. What we saw where I live, and this is happening everywhere, they came in and built like $63 million complex. Not one lease needed to be signed. What we found out is the little tiny town of Osage Beach had signed a tax, they had rebated their taxes for 20 years. they don't have to pay real estate taxes for 20 years. So you wonder what's happening, why your real estate taxes are going up? You guys, it is insane. It's happening everywhere. So these massive developers are coming in, and these little boards of aldermen are deciding, oh, all of these hundreds of people that are going to live in these complexes, we get to pay for all the services. So we're paying for fire, school, ambulatory, nursing home, library. But where I'm at, a $63 million project, they don't have to pay real estate taxes for 20 years. Yes, sir.
When you follow money up, does that lead to BlackRock?
That's a really good question. And a lot of your developers or your hedge funds, all that, those things are, it's a very small Vanguard, BlackRock. I can't prove that, but they say 60% of all homes by next year owned in the United States will be by BlackRock or a subsidiary.
And also that we have lobbyists in the Capitol on behalf of BlackRock in the state of Missouri.
So it's
they're
happened.
lobbying on behalf of them.
What's BlackRock?
Do you want to take that? So BlackRock is just basically a massive investment group. They own everything.
They own every corporation.
Every corporation they have a huge stake in. The lobbyists last year that registered on behalf of BlackRock in Missouri, you can look it up at the Missouri Ethics Commission, Amy Blunt, Roy Blunt's daughter. Okay? Ombudsman, yes.
Property taxes, does all that money stay in the state or in the county, or does it go to the state first? Do they get a cut of our real estate taxes?
Of our real estate taxes, I don't think so.
No, it doesn't even go, the real estate taxes don't even go to the state, so it actually stays in the county. It's the sales tax. So even though they're attempting to strong arm regarding the real estate taxes, those taxes don't flow, but they're saying if you don't play ball the way that we want you to, then we'll withhold your sales taxes.
And we'll show that in a second in an
It should be
MOU.
illegal in itself when they do that.
Yes, it should.
Like-
Well, right now there's 5 assessors in the state of Missouri that have sued the Missouri State Tax Commission saying you do not have the authority to force us to sign a contract, an MOU, that obligates us to an international set of standards, and if we don't, you're going to steal our sales tax from our county. That's extortion. We have 5 very brave assessors in Missouri that right now are suing your state tax commission, thank goodness. But what we're really watching are those 5 bills that were pre-filed in special session. If that court case gets decided and they win, saying the state tax commission doesn't have the authority, that's a huge win for all Missouri. But what they're trying to do is hurry legislation in place that gives the state tax commission the authority to do what they're doing right now, and they shouldn't be. It's illegal. It is illegal to do what they're doing. Ombudsman. In 2008, it became the law in the state of Missouri that Missouri had to have an advocate on staff at the state tax commission. Since 2008, that position has never been filled. The state tax commission has broken the law since 2008 and refusing to fill this position that's supposed to be an advocacy position for the citizens of Missouri. Now, let me do this one. This is tricky, Daddy. Okay, this is the hearing. All right, I want you to hear this because people are like, this sounds so bombastic. Like, how can this be true? Well, I'm going to show you this. This is a hearing where these are 2 of the 3 members of the Missouri State Tax Commission. This is Gary Romine. Do you want to tell me who that is?
Well, you guys might be familiar with Gary Romine, so he was a senator in the Farmington area, and I like, huh?
He was conservative.
Well, I like to talk about how conservative he wasn't, because the personal interaction that I had with him is at that time, and it was about 2018, I was specifically trying to go in and protect the locker rooms and the restrooms for the kids in the public schools. And so we had a bill, and the bill was to say that, you couldn't be of an opposite gender in a state of undress with those other children. So they would be designated areas. And he was in charge, he was the chairman in that committee. And so we could not get it past him. And he was literally telling me he was doing the bidding of leadership. He didn't care what anyone else thought. It wasn't going to get past him because leadership said. So how was he then rewarded? Well, then he's rewarded by now being on the state tax commission, once again doing the bidding of leadership.
And he makes a very handsome sum of money, kind of halfway working. This is a hearing with two of the commissioners of the state tax commission, and they're answering questions. This was this summer, wanting to know about the ombudsman. Is this filled? Is it not filled? They got drilled on this, and you'll find that. Oh, whoa, sorry.
Dave,
Where's my tech guy?
Turn the volume down on your laptop if you can.
It's my toolbar is like, can you turn me down? It's my toolbar actually is not, I don't know why, it's kind of locked up.
Hey Stacy, while he works on that, I just saw yesterday an article from that the
I'm sorry.
that the new amusement park at the lake, which is a sister project to that apartment complex that Stacy was talking about, got $285 million approved for building the Oasis at Lakeport. And so that came from Excalibur.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did Excalibur Black Rock, and Excalibur is Black Rock.
Yeah.
And so, yes, those two
Are very interchangeable.
very interchangeable.
That the budget committee is not funding a state ombudsman, they're funding 38 employees to go out and bother our assessors and making sure we pay enough taxes.
I am unaware that the ombudsman position has ever been funded. And
This is effective
the
August
shower,
20th,
oh, a long time
August
ago.
20th of 2008.
Yeah.
This has been law for 16 years, right? 15 years. Yeah. And we don't have an ombudsman. We dang well better get one if we're going to stay in the state tax business. Office of Ombudsman, how many employees does the state tax commission have?
38, 37, 38.
37 area, 30 employees. And you can't hire one state ombudsman?
We've not been appropriated for it, no.
Chair Romine admitted that the commission's 37 other filled positions are not statutorily mandated, unlike the ombudsman.
Forgive me, I may have misunderstood something a minute ago, so I just have a few questions to just kind of facilitate the FTE aspect and the ombudsman position. So, did I understand correctly that you have 38 full-time positions?
Correct.
But then the budget committee has not appropriated for the mandated by state statute one position of the ombudsman?
Correct. And I will be.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. So, is it mandated that you have the other 38 full-time employees or full-time?
Our budget is based upon the number of local assistants we need to get the job done. We would love to have more legal counsel to handle all the appeals that's coming forward. We discussed some of these other items. We've been limited on our request for FTEs. And so therefore, no, we have not formally requested an ombudsman's position because we feel like our legal department, with a number of appeals out there, that's an important department. We would like to have another position filled on. But
those aren't mandated by state statute.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm kind of.
Okay, Lisa's gonna take this. So he goes into.
You might have to turn the volume back.
Sorry. We're a problem.
Up there? Okay. So he says right there that, yes, we don't have the ombudsman and we haven't been appropriated for it, but there was nothing else that they could have said that the appropriations were going to go for except for that one that is mandated by state law, that one in particular. But then he goes on and he doubles down and says, well, we really like to have more lawyers to go after you. That's what they're saying. You that want to appeal, we really like more of those because we have 37, 38 positions, but we really need more of those to go after you because we don't have enough. But still just, no, we don't have enough money for the ombudsman.
So what's amazing is the State Tax Commission is operating from a bully pulpit. They're supposed to be in an advisory capacity only. They're supposed to, by law, fulfill the position of ombudsman. But you can see from the video, they have no intention of doing that. So they're breaking the law. This is how they're doing it. The State Tax Commission, remember the IAAO, in the past, this is a quote, in the past few months, many counties have received memorandums of understanding from the State Tax Commission requiring the county assessor to raise the assessed values on property to come into compliance with the Missouri law and with the International Association of Assessing Officers standards adopted by the IAAO. This is an international organization. We're going to do that. Go ahead, babe. These are what the memorandums of understanding look like. Every county that was deemed to be under evaluating the real estate taxes in their community got one of them. Go ahead. These were memos. And what each memo says is if you don't sign it, for example, this is from Larry Jones, this is Putnam County. We're going to withhold your sales tax here, $25,000. In 2026, there's another one. All of them got these, okay? The highest I saw was $1 million from Jackson County. Go ahead. Another one, here's a memo. This was from Gary Romine, Greg Razor. Go back to that one. These were just the memos showing how much. This was $997,659 to be withheld from that county if they refuse to sign on to the international standards and sign the MOU. So you need to ask your assessor, did you sign the MOU?
You did.
You did.
Okay.
Okay. Why? Why? Because what he did is he adopted the standards from an international organization, which uses artificial intelligence, by the way. That's what this is really all about, to assess your values. Go on. This is the memorandum. We have them all. Go ahead. Go ahead, babe. The IAO, this was a conference that was held September 21st through the 24th of this year. Go ahead. What you're going to find if you do a little bit of research, they constantly are talking about fair and equitable when it comes to assessing the valuations of your real estate. And it's not the kind of fair and equitable you hope it is, because that's evolved. Keep going. Diversity, equity, see up top, IAAO. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is the hallmark. They are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion as a primary organizational core value. Go ahead. Again, you can watch videos that'll make you sick. Because when it comes to the assessing of your valuation of your property, it's all about DEI. Go ahead. But this was super interesting because at that particular, the national conference, these are some of the classes that they offered. ESG, you guys know what ESG means? Environmental Social Governance, Beyond Green, Social Impact and Governance, and Valuation of your property, right? Are you watching what's happening in Europe right now with the social credit scoring, like the digital ID? Guys, this is all part of it, okay? Another one, what is the blue economy and how it can help mitigate the adverse effects of climate change on coastal ecosystems? This is, again, these are the international standards of the IAAO. This was their whole conference. Natural hazards, biodiversity, and AI applications and property valuations. Artificial intelligence. You know what's happening in Jackson County, Missouri? Have you been paying attention? They adopted artificial intelligence, Tyler Technologies, to assess the valuations. This has been going on for like the last 4 years. They had 55,000. I sit on my Board of Equalization in my county, which is Camden, which is where Ike Skelton, who took down the flock cameras, that's where I'm from. 55,000 appeals is unheard of because they brought in artificial intelligence to assess the valuation of people's property there. In many cases, it more than quadrupled.
And I'd say why they chose Jackson County is Jackson County was the only place in the entire state that did not have an elected assessor. And they do now, by the way, they just elected one by like 85 to 88%, something like that.
They just had an election. Water, is it an entitlement going forward? How has climate change impacted water valuation? Keep going. Just again, as a global community of diverse mass appraisal of professionals, we can best fulfill our mission and vision by ensuring all individuals experience an equitable, inclusive IAAO environment. We incorporate DEI principles and practices into our goals of professional development, community engagement, communications, advocacy, and business innovation. To sustain this commitment, we implement meaningful metrics and measures. A diverse, equitable, and inclusive IAAO will continue to serve as a leader in making the assessment industry more reflective of the communities we serve. Are you getting this? Okay, go ahead. Then they went to a international conference in Australia. And again, you can read all about it. It's even worse. Go ahead. It is called the Global Property Congress. When you look at the World Association of Valuation Organizations, the IAAO is a huge part of that. The IAAO, its home office is in Kansas City, Missouri. Go ahead. This was from Governor Mike Kehoe. Now, people get so excited when he put this press release out. Can we talk about what this says?
Well, he said we're going to eliminate DEI in all of our state agencies, which was weird because then he put a caveat, not our school, which is really where we were seeing a lot of this. But then you have, again, where he's strong-arming, really using for his benefit, the State Tax Commission to implement IAAO standards, which means DEI. So if he really wanted to clean up DEI, why would he be pressing this agency to be adopting these standards by any means like MOUs?
So you're getting this, right? So your local elected assessor, who may be a great person, they're being told, look, we're going to withhold all of your sales tax unless you adopt these international standards and sign this contract. If you don't, there's going to be big consequences. We may bankrupt your county by withholding your sales tax for not complying. You're getting this? So this is kind of where we're headed. But then when you see, he's like, we're getting away from all DEI. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because his state agencies, and this isn't the only one, MoDOT, they are all adopted. They're all working with different organizations that are all about DEI. Because this is deceptive. Yes?
And that's bogus.
So what's coming next? I don't understand if they raise property taxes in this county, how's it gonna help the state? What's coming
Well, the
next?
issue, and I can't get into this tonight, this is another talk. The whole school choice thing, when you understand massive hedge funds are all about this whole school choice thing. It isn't about education. It is Zuckerberg, it is Gates, it is Bezos moving us into a technology-driven education system. They don't care about kids. Your real estate taxes pay for your schools, but the technology is expensive. They want to get rid of the teachers, and this is, again, education is my thing, but really this is, in my opinion, as we're moving into this whole idea, I am totally pro school choice. I homeschooled, Lisa homeschooled, my kids went to public school, but it's a Trojan horse. They're gonna have to pay for it somewhere. And when you start to understand the billionaires that are invested in what's happening to our children in technology, when you push a Chromebook in front of them, every app builder, all the technology, we're pushing our teachers out and we're pushing this technology in for big, big money. And now real estate taxes are the low-hanging fruit that all the big dogs want. You don't pay your taxes in 3 years, they take away your home.
Thank you.
That's where we're at.
That
Yeah.
now makes sense.
Does that then dovetail into the land banks and the government then
It does.
owning our property?
And that's a whole thing, land banks, and I mean, we don't have time to get into that, but Jan, what'd you?
Just a real quick, the Missouri GOP director, or what do you want to call him, is he's connected now with Herzog and he's real excited about that. Do you have just a 1 minute spiel, or is that?
Well, so again, education is super complicated because of now the technology piece. DESE, and I'm just going to talk about this really quick, DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, they govern your school board because they say if you don't do it this way, then we're going to take your accreditation. We're not going to give you all the accreditation points to keep you open. If you lose your accreditation, we're just going to take over your school. So they write the rules, judge the rules. Now we push in technology. But you've got Herzog, which is a big dog, donates millions of dollars to quote school choice. But then understanding, and it's so and I was here this last year talking about a lot of this stuff in education, but for them all to get on board, know this, that the big dogs, when it comes to school choice and education, they donate millions back to get the governor elected, to get your senators elected. It's a big, big racket. It's a big money game. So yes, they're all for it, because those are the guys that basically put a lot of money in their pockets and they give it back to get the same guys elected. And these are through government contracts. So anyway, keep going. So property taxes. Remember when people just lost their minds? We lost our minds when Kamala Harris endorsed the unrealized gain. So you lived in your house 25 years, let's say, and you've enjoyed it, and you've paid your mortgage, and you paid your taxes, but now they're gonna say, hey, AI says your house is worth this. It went from this to this overnight. You're gonna owe another $20,000 a year in real estate taxes. Can you afford it? Well, it doesn't matter. You've never experienced the gain because you haven't sold your house, but you're living in something that is showing its gain. We're gonna tax you on that right now. And we're gonna catch it up overnight. Pay attention with real estate taxes, guys, and what's gonna hit Missouri in the next 6 weeks. People are gonna lose their minds when they go to pay their taxes this year.
And they're gonna continue to do it every year.
Every 2 years, yeah, every 2 years. So unrealized gains, that's what Governor Kehoe is pushing upon us right now with his state tax commission, and we've gotta fight back. Go ahead. This is my apartment complex where I live that I just told you about, the $63 million. Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going. I don't have time. This is what's so disgusting though. So what's happening in your public schools, Missouri public schools, this is just from October of this year. Missouri public schools, Medicaid need $1 billion more to continue their programs. $1 billion. The schools, they're gonna need this money. Where are they gonna get the money? Well, the state's running out. You know where they're coming for it? Your real estate taxes. Yeah. That's where they're gonna get it. Go ahead. Again, what's happening right now, they have led us to a cliff in Missouri, $27 billion to $55 billion in 5 years. The governor's gonna try to be a hero and say, we're gonna get rid of income taxes, we're gonna get rid of personal property taxes, but he's gonna gut you when it comes to your real estate taxes. And that way they can keep some of that money that they're pouring into the public schools from the state. It's all gonna be driven by your local jurisdictions because they're running out of money. Go ahead. I mean, just the hypocrisy of this, that as your taxes are being threatened and your governor is giving a $50 billion incentive to keep billionaires build them a brand new stadium in Missouri. You guys do realize that in Jackson County, Missouri, where the stadium is located, they sent a referendum to the people and said, do you want this here? Are you willing to pay for it here? You know overwhelmingly what the people of Jackson County said? No. So you know what the governor did? He came into the last week of session, he added this as an amendment to a bill, and I'm not even joking, they had big old tour buses waiting out in front. So in the Missouri House, they bring a bill that has this attached to it, never been seen in a committee hearing, never been debated. They just tacked that sucker on a different bill, and they wanted them to vote on it right then because, guys, they were going to a Jelly Roll concert in St. Louis, and they had the big buses out front. So all the partiers got on that bus, or those two buses, and then, like you said.
And the refined group went to the winery. But there were still better places to be, either Jelly Roll or the winery.
They had buses when this bill got rolled out in front of the Missouri State Capitol trying to expedite this through, but they had a bus to catch. So let's get this thing voted on, let's get it out the door, and that's what they did. The Senate was a little different story. They made it harder. But the House, I mean, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, probably, 45 minutes out the door. $50 billion on your back. Go ahead. There's gonna be a fight, just know, next session, they've extended it, Kansas has extended the deadline for the Chiefs Stadium. So I think it'll be brought back up this legislative session because Missouri just didn't give enough. Go ahead. Keep going, we'll go past the Chiefs. Keep going. Okay, this is big, machines versus men. Are you paying attention to the data centers? Yes, no? Yes? Are you guys aware of the data centers? Oh, you want to start with this one?
So what we have with the data centers, really what we saw in play this whole session was about the data centers. And so you had two components. You had one with your utilities and your skyrocketing utilities. Again, by a supermajority of Republicans. They were the ones doing this, leading the charge, getting it through. And the exportation of your water. So in the guise of protecting your water, you had perfect riparian water rights before the session. They admitted it. They admitted it repeatedly in committee, on the floor. You had Berger here saying, yeah, we don't have any problem with our water rights. We just want to make sure if there is one. Well, if you looked at other states and what they did, we just modeled what other states did that were failing with their water rights, that were actually having problems exporting their water and getting their water depleted from the citizens. We did that. So we were in the perfect position where we were, and why you didn't have any problems with your water rights, and I'll explain that, because with riparian water rights, how it works is you are able to export all your water to China. There's no one to stop you from doing that. But if I'm your neighbor and now my water tables are now being depleted, then I have injury and I can sue you and I'm going to win. And what happens when that is magnified over many, many people, you have a class action lawsuit. And somebody is going to take that up because whoever is exporting that water to China or bottling it or whatever they may be, like in Michigan with Nestle, then there's going to be a big case there to pay out. And so your rights are going to be protected. Your water rights are going to be protected. But what they did is they built in for themselves exceptions and a permit process so that they can export your water for profit and use them for the data centers to cool them.
So these data centers are 400 acres, right? They're for the collection and retention of data. And people are like, well, why does that affect my water rights? Why do they need like millions and millions of gallons of water? Because the engines run nonstop, right? So ChatGPT, every time you make a search, like again, going back to the digital ID, the dossiers that are being held and created, every keystroke you make on your computer or your children do in school, all of that is being held. So if you just go home and do a very small search on data centers across the United States, you guys, it's out of control. But the electricity in Missouri, they have leveled our coal-fired plants, leveled them. These take an exorbitant amount of electricity and water. Why water? Because it cools the engines. But people are like, why can't we just not have big reservoirs? You know, and they just cool them because when it hits those engines, it steams off. So when you're paying attention to other states and the data centers, it's ugly. Microsoft's new data center project is set to drain 2.8 million gallons of water from Lake Michigan every single day to cool its servers, enough to supply thousands of homes, sparking backlash over whether tech growth should come at the cost of the world's freshwater reserves. The coming blackout math, current global data power centers, 55, I don't understand the gigawatts, but go ahead, babe. The dot-com bubble died when bandwidth ran out. Go ahead. This is all about artificial intelligence. China's piling on, the Middle East, every nation is drunk on AI. Keep going.
So wait, I have to say here, so China, if you understand this, China is building one coal plant a week now. We are not building coal plants. So when you really talk about what's happening with us, and by the way, we're still not talking about that. We're talking about really in the state of Missouri, small nuclear generators, and we can have that discussion, but I'm just letting you know who is leading that charge is Bill Gates.
Yeah.
So you can look that up. So if you feel comfortable with Bill Gates being the one with all the small nuclear generators that's also in partnership with these other guys that say that you're not gonna own anything and be happy about it, think about somebody having the control levers to take out communities with small nuclear.
So this is, again, this is how fast it's happening. NVIDIA, $100 billion data center plan. Alibaba, 50 billion AI spend. Microsoft, 17 billion, all in 3 weeks. Go ahead. Rand says we'll need 327 gigawatts by 2030. That's 6 times today's capacity. More power than we've built in decades. Go ahead. The White House held a meeting on AI. Executives admitted they have no plan. The grids are built for 2% annual growth. We are facing 9% plus a year. If power runs short, AI training slows, energy prices explode, data center projects halt, rolling blackouts return. This summary, how we've talked in front of a lot of people. Ameren, did you guys notice like your bills? Like a lot of people said our usage didn't go up. It was consistent with the year before, but their rates went way higher. It's supply and demand. Right now what's happening, keep going, with these AI data centers, Ameren cut off nearly 15,000 Missourians from electricity in September as data centers threaten to raise prices. Data centers are projected to raise electricity prices even more as current prices are already unaffordable for thousands of families. Keep going. Keep going. 10 billion 500-acre tech campus gets stamp of approval near Smithville. This was the Google data center in Missouri. Go ahead. Meta's $1 billion Casey. This is Facebook's data center in Kansas City. Go ahead. This is something you got to pay attention. It's called MoData. It's been hired by all the big AI centers to give you a false sense of security. All the big tech guys are putting out this plan to make you think it's going to bring jobs. Memphis brought in a data center. And do you know how many jobs were created from hundreds of acres of a data center? You want to guess?
30.
30. So they're going to talk about, oh my gosh, this is going to bring in so many jobs. It doesn't. 30. Okay? Go ahead. Electricity. Okay? As electric bills rise, evidence mounts, the data centers share the blame. States are starting to feel the pressure. Go ahead. Keep going. The artificial intelligence boom is driving a surge in electricity demand as data centers powering AI tools like large amounts and image generators consume massive amounts of energy. The demand is pushing up household power bills and straining the country's electrical grid, leaving millions of Americans footing the bill. Go ahead. Keep going. Ameren's proposal for new large data center rates would raise electric bills by an estimated $22 million per year, according to recent filings from the Missouri's utility regulator staff. The huge demand for energy from these data centers will require expensive new power plants, and staff wrote that instead of protecting customers, Ameren's proposal would raise rates while enriching Ameren shareholders. Did you ever hear about a bill called SB4 that passed this year? Yep. Senate Bill 4, the Omnibus Utility Bill? This is what it is. Go ahead. Keep going. Go back to that bill. Go back real quick. Staff calculated that because of this, a new 100 milliwatt data center would raise the bills of existing Ameren customers by about $22 million every year until the data center's new load was accounted for in a rate case. At the same time, Ameren would receive $33.5 million in new rate revenue from that customer. Do you want to explain what that means?
So you have two things going on. They're going to increase, now this bill had a provision in here called CWIP, which was construction work in progress. That means that it was illegal before this in an initiative petition that people had brought to use construction work in progress, meaning that when they're constructing and before that goes on use for you, the utility ratepayer, then you can't be charged for that. That's one of the reasons why we have a monopoly, is they're supposed to bear the burden of the risk, and that's why we have them. Now, what they were doing with CWIP is this year they threw that out. Again, the people had brought that in like 1970, I believe. And the people had brought that was in our legislation, not in our constitution. And our legislators just overrode it. And they said, we're going to use construction work in progress, meaning you, the ratepayer, are now going to pay for building our projects out beforehand. Now, this is important because a lot of these places, these haven't even gone online. So you would bear the burden of that. We have some on the East Coast that they were on the hook for, I think it was like $1 billion, maybe more than $1 billion.
So what she's talking about with Senate Bill 4, it was illegal for any of these monopolies to embed into your rates the cost for building new infrastructure, okay? That was illegal. It went to a referendum. People voted on it in 1976 across the state of Missouri and made that illegal. That was called construction work in progress for just electricity. This year in the Missouri legislature, a bill that started out as a 16-page bill called SB 4. So that means if you guys would have wanted to go to the Capitol and testify on the bill, it would have been 16 pages. It ended up, after it was substituted after the hearing for the public, a 133-page bill. And what they did is your Republican supermajority in Missouri gave them monopolies, all the utility monopolies, they gave them CWIP. CWIP is construction work in progress. That means your water bill, if it's municipal, Missouri American Water, your sewer bill, if it's municipal, luckily a lot of us are rural, your electricity, your propane, they can build infrastructure to service these data centers and put those rate increases in your rates. That's what they passed this session in Missouri. It is just unthinkable that the monopolies that are making billions upon billions with our utilities, they made it a law that you get to pay for. So here's the deal. Normally you would say, okay, maybe for 4 years and then it'll sunset. That means it expires. They put no expiration on it. They put no requirements on it other than the Public Service Commission had to approve it, but they always approve. That's their job. They work for the monopolies. Am I right on that? So the issue is what you're about to see, Senate Bill 4.
Oh, hold on, Stacy, go back to that. We're right here. So this future test year, this is important too, because what you have now is historical data, meaning that when they look at your rates and going forward, they use this in what they call their tariff, which is what you see with your actual bills. They get an approved what's called tariff, which they look at a whole bunch of things. They used to look at your past history. Now they're no longer doing that because of SB 4. They're doing what's called future test years, which they get to literally make up what they think your expectation of usage is going to be. That with the CWIP, and then PISA was something that we developed here in Missouri because we develop a lot of bad ideas for the rest of the country. And this was a made-up accounting practice called plant and service accounting that they brought in 2018. They extended this. So what it does is it helps the utilities be able to offset things, and I call them cook the books.
So these are the three major things that passed in, excuse me, I have ice in my mouth. In the omnibus utility bill called SB 4, these were the three biggies. You are going to feel it. Why? Well, we realized a little late that the water and utility stuff is really all about the data centers. And you may not have it now, but you're gonna know they're coming. They want to root themselves. They just fought it in St. Charles. Did you guys see the fight in St. Charles that they levied against the data center there? They levied a fight and they won. It was another Google data center that they were trying to put in St. Charles. The people came together, they went to the meetings, they protested loudly, and they basically scared the Board of Aldermen there. And they put a moratorium on it for a year. That's the good news. When people are educated and you start to understand that you have rights if just like this amazing group of people, if you get educated and assemble and know what your rights are, you can win. They won in St. Charles, and that was a huge, huge victory. We all can do that in all of our communities if we will just harness and come together, that power and come together. But that's why it's important, and I appreciate you being here. Keep going. Again, keep going. I'm going to skip through CWIP. Right here, this is what CWIP said, and it's super important. This was the law. No, go back. Yeah. It says charges. This passed in 1976. The voters voted this into play. By an overwhelming margin, it said charges based on non-operational property of electrical corporations prohibited. Any charge made or demanded by an electrical corporation for service or in connection therewith, which is based on the cost of construction in progress upon any existing or new facility of the electrical corporation, or any other cost associated with owning, operating, maintaining, or financing any property before it is fully operational or used for service, is unjust, unreasonable, and is prohibited. Until this year, you guys, that was the law that protected us. Now the monopolies, and not just electrical, gas, electric, sewer, and water, they can embed into your bills the cost for construction of something that may never even be built.
Stacy, I was wondering this. Am I correct in saying, let's say you own a grocery store out here?
Yeah.
You're in a grocery store business,
That's
okay?
how I take that.
And you decided that you wanted to build another grocery store.
Yeah.
Then the people out there would have to pay for that grocery store.
Yeah.
It's your grocery store, they gotta pay for it. And then when they're done paying for it, they have to shop there.
Yeah.
And continue to shop there
Yeah.
until it goes, that's a great deal. If I was a
Yeah.
businessman, I think that would be awesome.
That's right.
But
No
that's-
competition either.
That's not a good deal for us, yeah.
And that's the problem too. There's no competition. They are monopolies. So you are paying for the monopoly. It would be different if we opened up competition. But we've regulated competition out of the game. Yes.
I've got two things, one of which, there's already been instances where AI have taken over the electrical grid
Yep.
to serve their needs. So you're gonna
Yeah.
see rolling blackouts for.
And that is
residential
happening.
use.
Yeah.
That's already happening.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So they're
That's
stealing
interesting.
the electric, they're controlling everything. So
Yeah.
it's not in the future,
We,
it's happening right
they,
now.
they feel like we need the electric, you can't have it. right?
Yeah,
And
but that's
You have
legitimate,
rolling
that's
blackouts
happening.
at your homes.
That's crazy.
The second thing is Missouri has a lot of co-ops. I'm sure they're strong on these co-ops.
They are.
So I think right now, what you had is the co-ops were able to stand strong. I can see where they want to go. They want to put them in all to the main grid, but they weren't willing to have that fight. They wanted this piece right now, and they'll go after.
It'll be
This was
next
the
session.
low hanging fruit, and they'll go after the co-ops next.
Make no mistake.
And I see how they're going to do it even. I see that they're putting different standards on, like they need to know how much energy, this kind of thing, that the co-ops are actually putting into the grid, what they're gonna do in emergency situations. Well, guess what? If you're in with those with the main grid, their organizations do all that for you. And so if you're the little co-op, it's just easier to say, well, I'm gonna be part of that because they're gonna do all this compliance work for me. They almost got that done last session.
Yeah.
But again, I think it just wasn't worth the fight to them, and they said, we'll go back later. But they're not gonna let these little co-ops continue, because again, it's going to make them look bad.
Yeah.
When the little co-ops are still running successfully in their communities, they can't have that going on at the same time in the state where you have the big cities and they're failing.
Right.
They're failing the people.
So Lisa, was that inside the SB4, or was that?
It was in different portions of different bills, but they definitely wanted it in here, but they didn't get it accomplished.
It was a hard fight because the pushback was growing and growing. They had to settle for what they got. But if you guys ever hear us talk about on our podcast incrementalism, you'll read something one year and it'll be like, what is that? Like, that doesn't even make sense. That's not even a complete sentence. Their grammar is terrible. But you realize it's not about that moment this year. They'll put a little bit more in it next year, and you'll think, that's nothing, just forget about that. But then the next year, because it won't be bold, because it'll be old, and then all of a sudden, they'll plug it all into another portion of a sentence, and it's sinister. That's called incrementalism. And that's what we expect to see with co-ops. Just so you can see, in 1976, that 63% of the people voted for CWIP. It has been illegal since 1976. Go ahead, babe. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite story. And this illustrates the corruption. And I know Lisa probably gets sick of it, but if anything shows you how corrupt things are, if anything does, this is the perfect example. So this guy's name is Jeff Mark, okay? And Senator Rick Bratton had brought him into his district, and he brought him in. He's like, look, yeah, this guy right here. So what he works for is the Department of Commerce and Insurance, the Office of Public Counsel.
Hold on, Stacy, let's explain. Okay, so Senator Rick Bratton is a Republican. He's part of the Freedom Caucus. Okay, so to put this in perspective, and that's why we start here, because he's going into his district having to defend voting for SB 4, this bad utility bill, as the Freedom Caucus chair, Republican, okay? So he's going into his district getting ready to say, well, this guy, I mean, he didn't have a problem with it.
He's for the people.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's either.
Some background.
So what he's hired to do, the Public Service Commission, they're just dirty dogs, man. I mean, they just go along with whatever the monopolies want. That's their job. They never say no. So if they want, you guys, it was insane. I can't even remember how many billions of dollars of rate. $1.9 billion when SB4 passed of requested rate increases were on the table at the Public Service Commission when SB4 passed this year. And you know what? They never say no. So this is always the counterpoint, the Department of Public Counsel. So Rick Bratton brings this guy in. He's like, well, this guy, like, if he didn't like this bill, I never would have done it. But because this guy thinks it's great, he's for the people, that's when I got on board. Well, too bad for him. Lisa's there every day. And so,
Before you play the video, can you turn down a little? You look like the official turn down her now.
So this was House Bill. What there was a bill called House Bill 748. Rick Bratton didn't tell his people about that bill. That bill, HB 748, was a bill authored by the Office of Public Counsel. You know what they wanted in that bill? They wanted more money for their department. They were operating on about $27 million a year. They were asking, I think, for $51 million a year in their bill, okay? So that's what's ridiculous too. These government bureaucracies bring in bills to increase their budgets, but that's what that bill would do. Anyway, here's the bill. We won't go into it, but this is the video. And what I want you to watch here, this video, so what you're gonna hear is the night before this happened. This was a hearing in the morning. And what he tells you is the night before, he got brought into the Senate and they asked him, what's it gonna take to get you to sit down on this? Because he was against Senate Bill 4. He was against it. So they brought him in, leadership brought him in and said, hey, how do we get you to sit down? Well, he showed him his bill, House Bill 748. So you're gonna hear here, this is the hearing the very following morning, but what I want you to watch, when he starts talking too much, there's a guy that gets up from the audience and he leans over and he whispers in his ear, tells him to shut up, stop talking. Just watch this video.
Position on CWIP or on future test year, just as an opinion?
We provided fiscal notes on the issue as required, and then we had select representatives and senators ask for our input on both of those bills. As I alluded to earlier, we were in discussions last night with the Senate late into the night, and those bills have been modified from its original position. But yes, we have taken positions on both of those bills.
So you were in those discussions, so what did you impart on that, and what did you see coming out of that, and what did you have your fingerprints on that are now different in what came from the Senate last night?
In fairness, Representative, there were a number of issues discussed. We were
Watch
given
this, right here.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's in flux.
Do you know what happened? what happened was the bill changed, and guess whose bill got put into SB4? His did. Guess what happened to the budget of the Office of Public Counsel? Do you want to tell them what happened to that?
So not only did it increase,
Could you turn it up just a little bit?
but the Office of Public Counsel before, their funds came from the budget itself. And in this bill, it actually changed, so the Office of Public Counsel that's supposed to be defending you, the people, okay, be your advocate, it changed to have, when the utilities go up, they get paid more.
So they have
So it's
incentive.
bribery.
Correct. So what Rick Bratton didn't tell his constituents is the only thing that changed, this guy was against that bill until his bill got put in to the bill also. And then guess who was for it? They needed him to sit down because he was the ambassador for the people. They needed him to be quiet. This is what politics look like. This is what they call making the sausage to all of our detriment. And I'm going to skip through this because I want to get to the back part, but all of this stuff, you guys, is on Shield Maidens of Missouri, our website. You can just Google it. Everything's there. You can read all of it. We do our podcast. At the time of the passage of SB4, there were $1.9 billion in rate increase requests at the Public Service Commission in Missouri. So CWIP and everything else, it will be piggybacked on that $1.9 billion of increased request. And you can see all those in the Public Service Commission's website. Go ahead. This is one example. Two of Missouri's three major electric suppliers are before the commission seeking rate increases. Ameren, which serves eastern Missouri, is seeking a rate increase of 16%. And the Empire Electric District, which is serving smaller communities, doing business as Liberty, wants regulators to increase revenue by nearly 30%. This is before SB4. Keep going. This is all interesting. Pisa, keep going through this. We just don't have time. Just stop right here. Want to take that?
So Kayla Hahn is the chairman of the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission is over the utilities. So they give the wink and the nod every time they ask for an increase, and that's exactly what it is, a wink and a nod every time. Now, Kayla happens to be married to a guy that is a lobbyist, and he happens to lobby primarily for utilities.
Yeah.
So isn't it nice that the chairman happens to be his wife? So wouldn't you want to go to that lobbyist and make sure that he's talking to his wife to ensure that everything goes through?
Yeah, this is what we're dealing with. Keep going. This is just something simple. When you guys are reading about the new Amendment 3, the only thing we want you to really pay attention to, and this is a funny story, we don't really have a lot of time. Lisa almost got beat up in a hearing. I didn't believe her until I went back and watched it. But there was a hearing about doulas. Do you guys know what a doula is, or do you think you know what a doula is? A doula is like a birthing coach, right? Is that what you think of when you hear the term doula, right? It's somebody who coaches a woman while she's giving birth. Well, that definition has been hijacked. And so a way for Missouri to fund, in my opinion, in a backdoor way, Planned Parenthood, is to fund doulas. Because who doesn't think doulas are a good thing? Keep going. Oh, dang it, go back. I left it. Go back. But what's happening, if you look up Planned Parenthood and doulas, I think I took that slide out. There are birthing doulas, there's assisted suicide doulas.
It's
there
farther, just so you know.
Okay,
It's
go
further,
ahead, keep going.
if you keep going, because it was on the. Okay.
Is it further?
Yeah, it's just way further, so you want to just keep going with the water and we'll come back to it.
Keep going, because it's important, and I don't know how I got all the way down there. Are you sure?
Yes, I am, because I
Keep
just
going.
did this presentation.
Keep going. No,
It was there.
I don't know.
No.
Did you see it? Keep go back up, babe. Back up. So sorry, everyone. Keep going up.
You're going backwards.
Okay, that's okay. Keep going. Lisa's, I know she's not right. Keep going.
Well, it was on the presentation that I had last week.
Well, you know I've got like 6.
Oh,
keep
well,
going. So anyway, doulas, assisted suicide doula, birthing doula, abortion doula. So what they're doing, if you'll transitioning, kids who are transitioning, what they're doing in Missouri when abortion was illegal and you wanted to go have an abortion, they would put you in their car as a doula. This is, again, how they were misusing that. And we have video of them saying, we'll just drive you across state lines. Kansas and the state of Illinois have huge abortion clinics, Planned Parenthood clinics, and that's where they would help take people seeking abortions across state lines. So if you guys just do a quick search, doula Planned Parenthood, be ready for your mind to be blown.
Yeah, okay, so I have to touch here. Okay, so I was in this committee hearing and the vibe was off, okay? The energy was off.
And she didn't even go in looking for a fight this time.
I was in there for another bill that was being heard after this one, but I came in and I went, there's something wrong here. It was, no offense, okay, but it was a bunch of women with purple hair and very angry. The whole vibe was angry. And I just said, there's something very, very off with this doula bill. But I just sat and I watched them testify one by one, and they'd say, I'm a social justice doula. And we have to have equal rights as a social justice doula. And I was like, yeah, this is not good. This is, whatever is happening here, this is not good. And I'm watching the committee hearing, and the committee hearing is, we don't always have the brightest bulbs, okay? I'm just gonna say it. And they're just kind of like, oh, I thought I was supportive of this, but this seems a little odd. So they're gonna go this whole time, and I can tell just kind of like, oh, a little odd. So I get up and I'm like, look, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm gonna tell you this, that whatever happens with this bill, you need to prohibit abortion in this bill. Oh, I mean, the whole room erupted out. They freaked out. And I'm like, oh, I hit the nail on the head. So I went and sat down, and there was some other social justice warrior that was watching on the screen outside because there was overflow. And she came in, and then she was doing eye to eye with me. Like the
problem is,
here, and
I love this stuff.
She was going eye to eye with me, and I just said, whoa, you'll never believe what happened today with these doulas. And then that's when she had covered all the doulas.
So I'm just sitting there like Googling it, like what's going on. I'm like, oh my goodness, they are Planned Parenthood doulas. And I started going through, but that's what they do, is they manipulate accepted definitions. But and I love that stuff. I'm always looking for a fight. So I love that stuff. So I was so jealous because one night we were together, and I didn't even want to be at the Capitol this night. I didn't even want to. I was tired. I hate going to the Capitol. And so she's like, let's just go sit in on the men and women sports deal. I was like, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that one. Because I was like an all-American athlete. Like I play college sports as a female. Okay, so I'm big about that. And I get there, and there are these transgender weirdos in like 6 inch to 11. They're like 7 feet, like 3 inches tall.
Was that the House hearing?
Yes.
Oh, that was insane.
Full face makeup. Like they were there to intimidate, and I'm just sitting there getting madder and madder. And then the mayor of Kansas City comes in, and he talks about how we need men and women sports. And so we're sitting there, and I kept waiting for people to testify. Nobody's testifying. They're scared of these people. I said, I didn't come with anything to say, but I'm testifying. I have had enough of this. So I go in. I'm always so sad when I miss this stuff, you know? I had to go try to find it and it was hilarious. But that's how, when she's there, and you learn what happens when somebody's there. She didn't even go into that hearing to listen to a doula hearing. But what was really sad was when Cody Smith, who was chairman of the budget, not this year, but last, made a line item appropriation for doulas in Missouri.
So that bill was killed, by the way. It was killed in committee after all that. When I said, hey guys,
we figured it out.
Make sure we prohibit abortion. And then when the room erupted, guess what? The reps finally got it. I think they finally got it. It took a lot, but they finally got it. So they killed that bill. But then we had the chair of appropriations, a Republican again, that then put it in the budget.
So that's the dirty deed that goes on. So, appropriating. Okay, keep going. Here's the deal. If you can control the water, you control the people. We've already talked about riparian water rights. This is about the data centers. Go on. Senate Bill 82, it passed. It was Berger's bill. This is what I want you to see. In this bill, when it talks about the term person, is any individual, partnership, co-partnership, firm, company, public or private corporation, association, joint stock company, trust, estate, political subdivision, water district or agency, board, department or bureau of federal or any state government, or any legal entity which is recognized by law as the subject of rights and duties. So when you read the term person in a bill, and you think that's like you and me, right? But when you understand that a lot of reps and senators never read the bill, especially the details, when Lisa and I read something like this, it makes the hair on the back of our neck stand straight up. This is what person meant in just that bill. Go ahead. And so here's what the bill did, just so you can understand a little tiny bit. Because they're gonna come in here and say, yep, we protected Missouri's water rights. They lie. Because what they did is, if you look at the very bottom of the bill, number 2, in order to protect the access, use, and enjoyment of Missouri's water resources, it shall be unlawful for any person, remember what the word person means, right? And we're for this, to export water resources outside the state of Missouri. And then if it would stop right there, it's like a win. But it doesn't. It says, unless such person holds a water exportation permit issued by the Department of Natural Resources, subject to the following, so they go a step further, exemptions. Who else is exempted? Go ahead. Exportation of bottled water or water packaged in containers intended for single use. So go back to what we just read. So subject to the following exemptions. Do it again. Exportation of bottled water or water packaged in containers intended for single use. Bottled water. What's happening with bottled water in the United States? Go ahead. This is something different. Go ahead. This. Michigan upholds Nestle's permit to withdraw 576,000 gallons of groundwater daily. You know about this. Tell them about just the...
So what happened is, I happened to be in contact with somebody that ran for governor in the state of Michigan. So when this was going on, I was in contact with her, and we started discussing this issue of water rights, because they had a terrible time in Michigan because they were actually draining the Great Lakes. And I asked how they were doing it. They were doing it through a permit process, right? And the ability to go outside of the permit process for whatever they deemed was a beneficial use. So Nestle, as the corporation, was actually bottling all Michigan's Great Lakes water, which is crazy. I mean, for us to even think about.
If you just do a tiny bit of research into that, it blew my mind. Go ahead. I mean, just the bottled water. I mean, how they're draining the Great Lakes with bottled water. Who would think? Okay, go ahead. Nestle wins, our Great Lakes lose. Go ahead. Water privatization, the struggle to stop Nestle's groundwater grab. Guys, where do you think they're coming now that we've passed this ridiculous water bill? It's a really good guess to us. Because they've been fighting it, but we have Jamie Berger. Well, we don't have any water issues now, but we may someday. Well, he just created an opening for that with
and
this
not
bill.
just even that, if it's the end use, so there's something else. If it's the end use, which the data centers are, then it's fine to use up all the water.
Yep.
And if it's, I forget now, if it's 20 or 30 miles from any border, they can also export the water. And that's outside of all of this. So it's giving license to do the very thing that they're pretending to protect, is what they did. They're feeding you a line as if they're protecting you, but they're doing the opposite.
Go ahead.
And going along with the incrementalism, this next year, they might change that to where they can do whatever they.
That's right.
Have a pipeline in Mexico.
That's right.
Keep going. The cloud. I want to go. This is St. Charles. I want to play this. So again, I hope that we're almost done, and then we'll take questions, and then Lisa wants to talk about a bill. But I just want you to look at, if you're not paying attention to the data centers and what it's doing to electricity and water across the United States right now, it's terrifying. It's really machines versus men. You're dealing with massive billionaires who see this opportunity to capture artificial intelligence. But the thing is environmental social governance, the assessment on your homes, these massive 400 acre data centers, they're collecting and they're holding data on all of us. If you don't think it's true, you're not paying attention. It is happening at a rapid rate. Look at what's happening in Europe. My daughter-in-law is straight up from England. She has the most beautiful accent. She makes us look sophisticated, but we're not. And she talks so proper. And it's always like, she's for real. They're like, is she faking? It's like, no, she's real, that's
In
real.
the middle of the Ozark Hills.
Yeah, in the middle of the Ozarks is where we live. She's very proper. She speaks the Queen's English. But anyway, her parents live there. So I'm like, is this for real? I mean, this whole thing, do they have to have a digital ID to buy groceries? Text your dad and ask him. They sure enough do. They sure enough do. Digital ID is real in England.
And speaking of flock cameras,
Yeah.
we're still getting tickets. They did go to Europe 2
long
years
time ago.
And they used the cameras, like we were talking about with flock, to judge where they're at. So if you're here to this point, if you get there too fast,
Yeah,
you
they'll give you a
exceed the
speeding
speed limit,
ticket.
you get a ticket.
The other thing is,
And, or a
rental
different
car.
zone. Yeah, rental
Yeah,
car.
they got a rental car that had the emissions was like too high because it was an older, cheaper rental car. So when you go into like a zone, like in Paris, if you cross over with that dirty old car, they catch you on a film, a picture, and they're still getting tickets and it's like, that's so creepy. Like, how do they know? We live in Roach, Missouri. That's like literally where we live, Roach, Missouri. It's a place. And they are sending tickets from Italy and France to my house in Roach, Missouri because of these cameras. Let it freak you out, because it should. So anyway, this is a data center, and we'll wind up here, and then I want Lisa to talk about this other bill, the CSG bill. But these are just ordinary people living an ordinary life in the middle of the country. And all of a sudden, a massive data center comes to anchor across the road. They have hundreds of acres. I want you to hear them in their own.
Artificial volume lady. Artificial
Oh,
volume.
sorry.
Blow everybody out.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't cry anymore.
Sure.
I'm just exhausted from it.
Every house farm that they plot is leveled.
Joy and Jean Van Loo are a fifth-generation farming family in New Carlisle, Indiana, a small town with around 2,000 people in the northwestern part of the state. This is where Amazon is building their largest data center in America.
How's your water situation here?
Tainted. It tastes weird. It's just not the same.
Do you think it has to do with the data center, the construction?
Well, yeah, they got them two 24-inch pipes pumping water across the street over here. They're dewatering, as they call it, so they can put the foundations in.
They went through this process called dewatering because of Amazon's data center construction, where they were actually removing groundwater that people rely on here for their drinking water. And this pond normally would be full up, but now you can see it's been vastly depleted. The Van Loo family owns over 200 acres, but their new neighbor will consume as much power as 1 million homes, guzzling millions of gallons of water from the Kankakee Aquifer to cool hundreds of thousands of computer chips. They will serve the AI startup Anthropic, which is working to create an AI system that matches the human brain. And Amazon is its largest financial backer.
You don't think you can win?
No, you can't, man. They got better lawyers than we can get hold of, and then the town of Nicolai threw us under the bus.
Still, a lot of dewatering going on, even though they've been told they're in violation.
But, like I say, we're a little fish in a big pond.
So there's a lot of these videos. You can turn back up. There's a lot of these stories across the United States right now, and they're so sad because they are breaking the law, the DNR's laws. But remember what we just talked about in the beginning. The State Tax Commission, the law says they're supposed to have an advocate for the people. It's been there since 2008, and every year they break that law. Nobody's holding them accountable. This is massive money. Google and Meta are in Missouri right now with massive data centers in the Kansas City region. They're trying to put them all over Missouri. You know why? We're centrally located in the middle of the United States. When you guys are watching the Trans-American Corridor, when you're watching this and we're talking about the exportation of water in these easements, understand that whole thing, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. That's a really big part. You guys are at ground zero here. And I don't know how much you know with the World Economic Forum and just the way it's implanted itself here. They got their sights on you guys here. You have the power. If you start to educate yourself, they'll say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. I say, prove it. I've got all the information to prove that you're wrong. The fact is, all they can do is typically call your names, try to make you small. But the more of you there are, the better your chances are at winning. If there's ever been a time to come together, what we have shown you, and I'm going to let Lisa close, and I'll be finished in a second. But just know, can we fight back and win? Yeah. Are we going to have to engage and do our own research and not let your state rep and your senator come in? We had that happen, and I won't go into it, but it was super fun. We had 200 people show up, almost 200 people at an event, or a talk like this, and the senator was in the very back of the room. And we were talking, and somebody's like, how did our senator vote? And I looked at Lisa, and I said, and it wasn't even about him. I was like, I'm not sure. What about, when we weren't sure. Well, then he jumps up on the stage, and we invited him because we wanted to have a give and take. But what they're really good at is filibustering. So finally, I just had enough. I'm like, I am sorry, but we're gonna have to do this another day. These people didn't come to see you; they came to see us. So have a seat. Well, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but it's like, look, there's only so much we can hear a non-answer go on for like 10 minutes. You answered with a non-answer for like 10 minutes.
They asked him there for the last 2 years, and they couldn't
He
get
wouldn't
him to a
come.
meeting, so he only came when we showed up.
So then the question was, okay, they called us and they said, would you guys come back and debate him? We're like, absolutely. Have him bring his friends. Yes, we would love that. But he said, you know what he said? She's a lobbyist, and he can't debate a lobbyist because she's, I'm not. I don't make a dime. I'm not.
You can only go party with the lobbyists, apparently.
Right.
You can't debate
And then I just said, okay, I'm going to
party.
his MEC report. Da, 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 da. He had taken $780,000 in the last 2 years from lobbyists. But he wasn't willing to have an open debate. You know why? All they have are talking points. They can regurgitate what they're told to say, but when it comes to really having a meaningful debate with educated people like all of you who've committed to be here, they don't know what to do. So I just commend you. I thank you for being here. I'm going to give Lisa the floor. It means so much that you're here. She wants to talk about a couple things, and then we'll let you guys go.
Okay, so because we're in this district, and because your representative, Barry Hovis, he sponsored an awful bill, and it passed. So I just want you to be aware of it. It's HB 147. It has many components that can deal with ESG in there. And so I'm just gonna read some of those components of the bill.
What was the bill's name
It's
again?
HB for House Bill 147. So one of the components says, the Board of Trustees may deliberate about or make tentative or final decisions on investments or other financial matters in a closed meeting under Chapter 610 if disclosure or the deliberations or decisions would jeopardize the ability to implement a decision or to achieve an investment objective, a record of the retirement system that discloses deliberations about or a tentative decision in investments or other financial matters is not a public record under Chapter 610 to the extent and so long as its disclosure would jeopardize the ability to implement a decision or achieve it. So let me just tell you, this is anything. So we're talking about a data center and the investment in a data center. They're saying right here, as long as this is a good investment and they deem it as so, you don't even have a right to know what it is. It's under a closed record. He's closing all the records. So as we talk about ESG, and we'll be talking about that a lot going forward, it's what I call the China model, where they want to get us all on board, like to do anything. If you change your thermostat, they're going to ding you. If you want to travel, they're going to ding you. If you eat the wrong thing or say the wrong thing on Facebook, they're going to ding you. Okay, all of that is ESG. And so this would play right into ESG and keeping those closed in those financial matters. It goes on to say, they're also not be prohibited from closing records to the extent that such records relate to the information submitted by an individual, corporation, or other business entity in connection with investments in or financial transactions with business entities for investment purposes. So what this is saying, you don't like Bill Gates, you don't like George Soros, you don't like BlackRock. Guess what? They don't have to disclose it. Because this is a financial, it's a good, solid financial transaction for them. And so you're gonna be in arms about it, you're not gonna like it, so you're gonna scream. So they don't have to tell you who's doing it. So they just made that legal to keep it all from you. Who did that? Barry Hovis did that. Nobody else. He sponsored this bill. He didn't just vote for it. He's the one that brought it. Okay, so the SG and I don't like it. As long as it's profitable, he's saying you can't ban it. Now, if it's not profitable, you're not supposed to be looking at it, but it's always profitable. The next, let's see. Not be subject to any legislative, regulatory, or other mandates to invest with environmental, socially, or other non-economical motivated influence unless, there's your key, right? If you just stopped right there, we're all on board. That's never what they do. They write things to deceive you and then they don't go all the way. Unless they are consistent with the fiduciary's responsibility as provided in this section or as provided in the system's governing statutes with respect to the investment of the system's assets or other duties imposed by law relating to the investment, management, deposit, or custody of system assets, and not be subject to any legislative, regulatory, or other mandates for divestment from any holdings in actively or passively managed investment funds or private assets. Again, saying you can't even divest from them. Why is this important? Because later on, what they do in these bills is they say we want to divest from China. Well, in another bill right after that, they've already said you can't divest for these reasons because you don't like them. All right, so one last thing here. Let's see. All shares of common stock held directly by a system or defined under this shall be voted solely in the economic interest of plan participants. Voting shares for the purpose of furthering non-economic, environmental, social, political, ideology, or other goals is prohibited. So that sounds all nice, but when they come, really what they're doing is they have ESG, it's right here, and it's profitable. So you can't say, I don't want to invest in this because I know it's ESG. They say, too bad, you can't look at those things. You can't look at the political ramifications. You can't look at the social implications. You can only look and say, is it profitable or not profitable? ESG is profitable to control you. So this is what Barry Hovis did, and I just wanted to make sure that we touched on this because this is what your representative is doing, and this is the bill that passed under him. And by the way, he didn't have other bills that passed. This is the bill that he had, he brought, he sponsored, and he brought over the line. This is what was important to him, ESG.
But he didn't write it. I guarantee he didn't.
Oh, no, he didn't.
I'm wondering if he didn't write that bill and get it to pass that relates to the Trans-American Corridor.
I mean,
that just threw red flags up whenever you were reading all that because he's a proponent of that.
The other thing they could hide in that is like they could hide that their husband or wife or whoever is hired as a consultant for that firm as well.
Yep.
And all that detail could be hidden.
And by the way, they did that in St. Charles because one of the reasons why I think that was stalled for a year, I call it stalled because I think it's just stalled, is because they found that members of that board were actually profiting.
But if it's hidden, you won't even know.
That's right. That's right. Is there any other questions that anybody has?
I just wanted to go back a little bit. First of all, I'd like to get-
Speak real loud, please.
I like what you guys are doing, this is great, and I've been taking notes the whole time, so this is good stuff. But I worked for the power company here for 33 years in power plants, and I know what it costs to keep those units running. So you gotta be careful calling Ameren out as a monopoly. I know I'm a slow advisor, but you gotta be careful calling Ameren out as a monopoly because they are a regulated utility. They're limited to what profits they can make. And for years, they weren't allowed to recover any of that. Like the soup plant, they put in scrubbers that, billions of dollars it cost them just to get the stack emissions clean. And it would generally take them 5 to 10 years to recover that. And now you're asking Ameren to generate more power, cheap power, but we're not gonna pay for any upgrades. We don't want the data centers to pay for any upgrades because we don't want you in cahoots with them. So basically, you're tying their feet and saying, we want more power.
So I'm going to address just what you're saying, because when you actually take a look, and that's what the part of the Public Service Commission even blew the whistle on Ameren based on their profits.
Yeah.
And so the issue becomes their SEC filings show their profits for shareholders. When you start to examine and really research what the shareholders are gaining in profit, they are a monopoly. They have no competition. So to suggest they have competition that would keep this whole level the playing field, that's just not an accurate statement. Simply put, they have no competition. And that's where if they did, maybe there would be more, quote, equitable rates and such. But when you really start to examine the rate increase request by Ameren at the Public Service Commission, which we've done deep dives on, they're ridiculous and unjustified in many cases. And then you add CWIP, which nobody's really quantified, and they're saying that we could see 40 to 60% increases because of the way CWIP was written in SB4. It has yet to be seen yet just how egregious. So as we're watching Ameren bring on, or try to bring on all of these data centers, and we're being warned that their gains will be tremendous because of the data centers to the detriment of the ratepayers, we're paying attention. So to say, they're not a monopoly, that is simply factually inaccurate, because they are. And CWIP will actually show just how bad it is. So I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with you. I understand, but again, regulatory has regulated everyone out of being a competitor. And now with CWIP, CWIP was illegal since 1976. And so now it's legal. That's gonna change the playing field and change the game for Ameren even more. So when you study the SEC filings, you understand what the shareholders are gaining, then we can talk about them, how expensive everything is.
You're talking way above my pay grade.
Right.
On most of this, but still in all, I know Ameren, if you can't generate, you have to buy the power. If you buy the power, you buy it off the grid, and it's extremely expensive to do that. But their hands are tied. They can't build any more generation. They can't improve the plants they have. But we want more power cheaper. So working in that field.
It kind of circles back to the data centers, right?
Yes.
Because the data centers need more power, correct? Am I saying that?
Yes.
So that's the quandary right there. The data centers is the quandary.
Right. If the data centers will pay what we as consumers won't pay, then what the company would not pay.
They won't pay until they get online.
But the issue is we have a finite amount of resource when it
And
comes.
just so you
And talk
understand,
about
the
coal
data
fire.
centers are getting a discounted bill.
There it is.
They're getting a 25%, we didn't even mention that in SB4, they get a
Instead of paying
25%
more,
discounted rate
they're
that's
getting
then
discount.
distributed across all the rest of us.
But the other thing is, understand this, and this is a valid concern, the coal fire plants, 85% of Missouri, like 3 years ago, that's how we're getting our electricity, is through coal fire, right? They're taking them not just on offline, they are leveling them, so it would take 8 to 10 years to build one back again.
All right.
So the issue becomes, if we're having, because of the finite amount of electricity or power we're generating, and we're giving a discounted rate to these data centers, they should be paying more than us. But what our legislature is doing is allowing them a discounted rate to take what really should be, like I said, machines versus men.
Well, they're taking our ability away to buy power.
That's right.
And it does concern
That's
us.
right.
So, yes,
I agree.
They shut down
Thank you
coal
so
fire
much.
plants when I retired.
Yeah.
But
Thank
yeah.
you so much for the comment and dialogue.